thank you for taking some time here and joining us in Vancouver, Canada for the Toddcast podcast.
Toddcast is a good name. It's going to be hard to beat
it's a catchy one, isn't it?
So,
how's your Toddcast, man, with COVID, and how are you, holding on, and people going stir crazy just yet in your camp, or?
It's been a very interesting experience for humans around the world, for sure. It's I hesitate to almost admit any of the positive that I found in it, because so many people have suffered, and with health, also mental health, of course, and sort of job security and everything. I mean, it's affected so much. Having said that, I've taken it as an opportunity to try to connect to people, and with different artists and different people I've met over the years since I first met you, because this journey has provided some unique opportunities to meet some interesting people that I realized had some either wisdom or experience to share that differs from my experience. So I've decided to talk to different people, usually daily or weekly, at noon on my Instagram live. And so that's been the main new thing I've done, that I've never done anything like this before. So much like you, I've been trying to connect with people, and I saw this as a opportunity to do so, and it kind of thrusted me into a place that I never imagined I'd be in. And as far as releasing the record and all that, I feel really extremely grateful that I had music to share with people at this time that felt lyrically and emotionally fitting for this challenge we're facing right now.
You're saying it's tough to mention the positivities of this uncertain time. Are the positivities mainly creative?
No, the positive is that the positive with this is when you're presented with, well, for the first time ever, we've been presented, at least in my lifetime, presented with a situation where I can't physically be with people. Right. That's starting to change and loosen up a lot now, but I don't know if it's been weeks or months. It feels like I'm losing track of time for sure. I don't know if you're like that. The only reason I know what day it is because I knew Friday I was doing a Toddcast, right? And things like that. But
pretty much the same for me. Yeah.
I think that the positivity is that I've connected with my family members and friends and fans and different people within the community of music, and even other people I've met along the way in a way that I've never done before. So that, to me, is the positive, is that we take the things we take for granted, like staying connected, being able to hug your mom, or different friends, or see them, or go to shows, even shitty shows. We can't even go to shitty shows right now, right, or play them. So these things have the positive. Because I'm one that I'm daily faced with looking at the world as half empty or half full of the glass, so to speak. And that's what this record is about. After I dealt with these California Woolsey fires that burned down my studio and a bunch of my land. So that was a huge life lesson for me, to try to figure out ways to move forward in a positive way. And so I wrote a record about it and created different characters. And so now, dealing with this, I'm trying to approach and use some of the tools I learned through the fire experience to handle this mentally, really. Because all you got to do is turn on the news and you can see the physical scare and fear and the unknown. But my responsibility became how to talk about mental health and how to stay positive, because it can be really hard to do. Sometimes it's hard to get out of bed, and not just with this issue, but especially what's going on here in the States and throughout America right now. Some days you feel like it's hard to get out of bed, but the first step is to get out of bed and try to connect with people and shed some positivity if you can. Not to keep using the word positive, but I don't know what.
I hear you, man. Because like you turn on news, or you flip through your Facebook feed or whatever, and you see like the Minnesota riots, which are insane.
Yeah.
So positivity, I think, is probably a pretty good first step.
Mm-hmm. You know, and there's a time and a place for it too. You know, you want to be sensitive to certain issues and take time to mourn situations. You know, I mean, I don't know if you've ever had extreme loss or dealt with a breakup, but sometimes it's helpful to have that moment to let the pain roll over you in a lot of ways and accept that. Because if you run from it and keep putting little band-aids over it, they won't work in the long run. So I think there's a fine line. I'm no expert, man. I'm just navigating through life just like everybody else, you know. I've just found that I've met so many people along my journey that seem to be pretty interesting, and I wanted to share some of those relationships with others. So that's been my been helpful for me. I've learned a lot from a lot of my guests, whether it was Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses to Dr. Wu, the best tattoo artist in the world, to Phineas, of course, you know, from Billie Eilish, and Samir from Young the Giant, Hannah from Group Love, and the list goes on and on and on. It's been Taylor from Hanson, the Hanson brothers.
Oh yeah, nice.
You know, just and trying to heal somehow, you know, and that's what is so beautiful about music and keeps us connected. You know, that's I don't know much, but I do know a lot about music, and I love a lot of it, and I know what I don't love as well when it comes to music. And for better or for worse, that's what I've been studying and been most passionate about my entire life. So I can share, I could share with the music community in that way, and I feel okay about that for sure.
Aaron, talk to us about recording Angel Miners and the Lightning Riders. What's the process, and like for songwriting and getting into studio? What's the process for Awolnation?
Well, as I mentioned before, the studio burned down. So after that happened, and you know, that was sort of, yeah, totally. I mean, that was my dream studio and all that stuff. You know, when you start writing songs, I never imagined that I'd have my own studio, let alone before
watch it burn down.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I would have liked to see it actually burn just for the. I don't know.
I don't know. Showed up and it was just burned to the ground.
Yeah, I showed when I finally got to see it, it was gone. You know,
wow.
And nothing remained. I thought there'd be some sort of hardware from the drums, or you know, like something random, maybe a guitar string or something like that. But it was just ash. It was crazy, you know. And we even searched, my wife and I looked for like a piece of a symbol or something to make like art out of or keep for the new studio we build. But so anyways, yeah, that was gone. And when I knew I could make a record inside a bedroom though. Again, another positive amongst chaos. So, you know, you lose your studio. So what else was I going to do? So I moved. I wasn't going to rent another studio, you know, and travel somewhere. I love working from home. So I just moved into a bedroom right below where I'm talking to you right now, and just started making a record that way. And you know, I made a lot of music that way, so I don't necessarily need a fancy studio to make music. The most important thing are the ideas in your head, and I have no shortage of ideas. You know, and then it's my job to decide which ones are good and which ones are maybe not so good. And I've done an okay job at that, I think, over the years. And it was a different kind of experience. It's a different sounding record than the one before it, which was made in that studio. And I'm really happy with the result. And it's the most positive reaction I've ever got from a release. And, you know, maybe part of that has to do with that, you know, people really wanted to hear some new music in this time and help provide some sort of escape from what was going on. So hopefully when we all look back on this incredibly bizarre time, I could be some sort of, or this record could be some sort of small little, you know, comfort blanket or something like that, you know.
That's what you should have called it. Comfort blanket.
Yeah.
And so prior to the coronavirus taking over the world, you were ready to get on the road for the summer with Bleecker. Where what's going on with that? What's going on for your touring and stuff? I mean, obviously, like everybody else, you can't tour right now, but is it just continually getting pushed?
Well, another Canadian group called the Beaches, they were going to be on the tour as well.
Oh, cool.
And I just talked to those girls on my little Instagram live thing, and they were delightful. And Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness was going to be on that tour as well.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, we held on, kind of knowing that it was going to get canceled eventually, and it did. And so we just have our eyes on the future, and whenever it's appropriate to scramble together some sort of tour. I just don't know, you know. So trying to stay hopeful with that. You know, the idea of playing like some massive room and only having 10% capacity being there doesn't sound super rad. It doesn't seem realistic to me. But if that's the only option, maybe that's something we would look at. I'm not totally sure. You know, we hear different things. I'm sure you've heard different things that I've heard. But I try not to consume too many rumors when it comes to this whole thing. Yeah. And take it as it comes day by day. I mean, I've kept my head down in a lot of ways, and then, you know, without me knowing it, or I didn't even know. And then on Instagram, I saw that this local restaurant that I love is opening up, and that was positive. That was a positive thing to hear for me. So I guess same with touring. I'm going to keep my head down, and I know that people much smarter than me when it comes to touring are doing their best to figure out what the plan is. I'm hopeful that there can be something to do this year, but it seems more realistic to plan on next year, you know.
I think so, yeah. You know, I'd heard that Live Nation had thought about the idea of like a drive-in movie kind of, where you drive up to see Awolnation.
Yeah.
What do you think of that idea?
Well, I think as a concert goer, it would be sweet because I could control the volume because I would assume you'd get some sort of fancy feed into your stereo. Maybe it would be like a radio station, you know, or you just have the windows down and get blasted by the speakers. I'm not sure, but how cool would it be if you would control the volume? Because I'm sort of,
I would think that's what it would be, right? Wouldn't it be like the board feed would go to each car? That
would sound pretty cool. So, I mean, you know, selfishly, I would enjoy the experience of going to see that because I could control the volume. And maybe if there's too much bass, I could turn down the bass on my own EQ, you know. And it would be, hey, talk about opportunities to have some great makeout sessions at a concert with no one really seeing you. There's a positive right there, you know.
Right. But and the interaction, the interactive element of that with your fans, and like, it's so unique. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what to make of it.
Well, you instead of clapping or doing the wave or putting your hands in there, all these little tricks, we could do things with like our windshield wipers, or do things with the
right.
headlights or our brake lights or whatever. So I don't know, man. I mean, it sounds a bit silly to me and slightly ridiculous, but who knows? You know, who knows? The great thing about music is you can listen to it. You don't have to physically be there to hear it, so you can listen to it. It's anyone who has a phone, which is most of the world's population, can actually listen to music. I was just talking to someone about this the other day, and you know, oftentimes, like, you'll hear bands, usually older bands, sort of get upset about streaming and what it's done to the music industry, but I've always seen it as such a positive thing because anyone can find music now. Even if you're not a subscriber to a streaming platform, if you have a browser at all, you could go find it for free and listen to it. And music is so important that I think, you know, it should be available to anyone who wants to hear it in a lot of ways. So,
yeah, dude, I work with some from time to time, at least once a year, I kind of help out with local project, Music Heals.
Yeah.
They'll go around to whatever hospice houses or, you know, old people, young kids and stuff. And the power of music is absolutely mind bending. Like,
it is.
You come to people that have like Alzheimer's, they can't remember their kid's name, but somehow they can sing all of the Elvis catalog.
Yeah. And it's important because the Elvis catalog is really good. So that's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, who knows? I'm not someone that is, you know, half, dark and light, right? So I was thinking, when we had to cancel the tour, family members and some people are like, oh, I'm so sorry. But I mean, I've been so lucky with my career that I haven't found the emotion to feel bad about it yet. I mean, there's a few shows I was looking forward to more than others. We were going to play a venue in town locally called the Greek Theater. Like everybody knows, Get 'Em to the Greek, the movie. So that's going to be kind of a special moment for friends and family and stuff like that. And there are plenty of shows, and playing this record physically in front of people was something I was really looking forward to. But having said that, I look forward to equally the opportunity to stay connected one way or another. And we're going to do a live record in the studio whenever it's legal and safe for us to all get together. I'm going to make a live record of these 10 songs together. And I don't know if I would have done that otherwise. And so,
right.
I don't know if I would have been talking to you like this, so there's a lot of,
right.
You in life when we're all traveling down different roads or trying to climb certain mountains, and you're presented with a roadblock or a speed bump and you have to figure out how to get around it. So, musically, that's where I'm at. And, I can't complain because I can still connect with people,
Right. Aaron, as you might imagine, when I mentioned that you were going to be a guest at the podcast, I got a bunch of Awolnation fan questions that I want to kind of rip through some of these with you.
Okay.
Crystal wants to know, what are your 3 albums you need if you're stuck on a deserted island?
That'd be a really hard one to answer. I don't have an answer. You know what I mean? I just don't. I don't have an
probably
answer.
Change day to day, week to week.
It would be, yeah. It would just be, that would be unfair. Like, that would be a cruel position to be in. I mean, hopefully I could have 3 mixtapes or mixed CDs or whatever,
Yes. Good answer.
Or 3 of my playlists, because like I often am asked who my favorite band is or artist of all time, and it's always hard to answer. I have answers depending on the day,
Yeah.
But I just can't answer that question.
I think most people would struggle for that, like
when I hear that question, I instantly think, okay, which Beatles record am I going to choose? And I can't even choose one. So that if I can't even choose a Beatles album, how am I going to choose 3? And I respect and appreciate the question, but I have no answer. I just don't.
Fair. Okay. Dave wants to know, have you ever had a near-death experience, a brush with death?
Yeah. Multiple times. Surfing on multiple occasions where I was held down long enough that I thought, all right, this is getting pretty close to it as far as being able to hold my breath and scrapping to reach the surface. And it being, sometimes you'll be in a situation where you're tumbling around underwater and then you think, okay, cool. Now I can start to float up to the top or to get grasp for air, and then you realize, oh shit, I'm not even close to the surface, and you keep going. Or there have been times where I thought I was heading up, but I was heading down, and then I touched the bottom, like, oh fuck, I'm at the bottom of the ocean, not at the top of the surface where I wanted to be. That's happened. Definitely had a few experiences that the answer is yes, for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like surfing definitely is tested.
Yes. Surfing and I mean, I look back on stupid decisions I made, like we all do, where I'm like, wow, that could have easily gone in a bad direction for sure. And I do often, I talk to my wife who I haven't known my whole life, but I often tell her how lucky I am to be alive in some ways. And in many mental states, music has been the thing that's got me through.
What, by the way, I normally ask this of my musical guests. What was the music in the Bruno house as a kid growing up? Like, what are the bands that your parents are like exposing you to?
Yeah, well, my mom listened to a lot of 80s pop radio. So I was getting Michael Jackson, Prince, Madonna, and, which I still look at as a really good time of pop music. Cyndi Lauper. Anytime I hear girls just want to have fun, I want to have
Right.
fun,
And what a fun video too, right? With
oh, yeah, dude. And the
Captain
Goonies
Lou
song
Albano.
he did, and great, what a great voice. And George Michael, so I feel like I was around some really well-crafted pop music. And even at a point where people were still playing instruments, in that way. And U2 was a pop group, basically. The Eagles were considered pop music because they're so big. So it's popular music, as opposed to
That's right.
as opposed to what we know as a pop sound now.
Yeah.
And so that was that. But then on the other hand, my dad listened to a lot of funk music. He loved James Brown, Stanley Clarke. And that was sort of his deal. He kind of like rebelled against the mainstream, like the Beach Boys and all those bands that my mom loved, and the Beatles. He kind of like was rebelling against that, I guess, that mainstream narrative for whatever reason. So his way of doing that was with funk music. And then my older brother, who we have different moms, he came to live with my family when I was going into fourth grade. So I guess I was 9 or 10. Yeah, 9 or 10. And he introduced me to hip hop and rap music. And this was in the 80s before it was mainstream at all. And so that just exploded my mind into another dimension, hearing beats and break beats and all that stuff. So, and I can still hear that influence heavily in my music today. Even though I don't rap, there's a lot of beats. There are a lot of beats underneath it all that were heavily influenced by those impactful 80s, hip hop records, and 90s that were huge to me. And he also introduced me to Pantera, Iron Maiden. Metallica was becoming more mainstream at the time. Same with, Guns N' Roses. But so I was kind of lucky to get it all. The only genre I didn't know was country music, and I've had to listen to that over the last 10 years, just personally, and go on that deep dive of some of the really good, deep, older country that is rooted in sadness and despair, and it's really deep stuff too. So there's really no genre I don't love at this point.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Good song's a good song.
Yeah.
What was your first concert?
My first concert was Sting at the Greek Theater, where I was supposed to play before this tour was canceled. That was my first concert, but my first mind-blowing. That was awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I was pretty young and kind of timid, and you're sitting in the chair watching. But the first real show was Bad Religion at the Santa Monica Civic Center. And some really cool bands opened up, and that was my first time being thrown into a mosh pit and crowd surfing and feeling the camaraderie of, people sweating together, and, something that seems so far away now. So that memory serves as very important to me right this minute.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, back to the fan questions. Kyle, are you a fan of all the superhero movies that are being made?
Well, although I find them to be absolutely ridiculous, I can't help but enjoy them, for sure. I'm just bummed that they haven't captured Superman a little bit better, because he's my favorite superhero. Totally unpopular answer, I know.
I just read that Henry Cavill is coming back, not as the follow-up to Man of Steel, but more in a support role, making cameos and stuff in future DC Universe movies, which is great. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, he did. Funny story about him. He was working at a restaurant as a waiter, and he left, and then has had a great career since then, right? The person who filled his shoes, his name is Mark Weistrack at this restaurant on Santa Monica Boulevard in Hollywood. Mark Weistrack is a good friend of mine, and he left and went on to become a country star in a band called Midland. Mark got me the job to fill in for him because I was just broke. I was in debt, without even the managers or the owners hiring me or interviewing me. I just showed up, and they said, "Well, who the hell are you?" I'm like, "Mark hired me." They're like, "Mark can't hire you." what are you doing here? I never got paid for the job. I worked 2 nights. They went out of business. I got a record deal. And then, then AWOL took off. So Superman, Midland
Degrees
country
of separation going on there.
and then me. So I do love Superman. So I could say in some weird way I'm connected to him, to Superman. But Ben Affleck sure ruined Batman. Holy shit, that's really bad. So I don't know what they're gonna do about that.
What did you think of that Superman Batman movie?
I mean, I enjoyed it because I loved the story so much, but I thought it was pretty gnarly for sure.
Yeah.
My wife and I just recently watched all the Christian Bale Batmans, and those are really good.
Those are so good.
I can't even. I love origin stories so much. It's hard for me to not go with Batman Begins, but obviously Heath Ledger, rest in peace, was incredible as the Joker, and then Bane was unbelievable, and that one was so scary. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm mostly a Star Wars fan, though, I should tell you.
Star Wars, okay.
Yeah, I unlike most people I'm pleased with how they concluded. I'm happy with the last 3, because I thought they would ruin it, and I feel like they did a good service to the history of Star Wars, and I don't know what else they could have done. I mean, it'd be easy to tear apart the story and nitpick it, but I feel like they did a good job.
Did you binge through The Mandalorian in like 2 days or what?
Of course I did. I haven't watched Clone Wars yet, though. I want to do that. Really want to do that.
Those are so good, man. Those
are
so
they
good.
Yeah, I can't. I watched like 5 of them on tour, and then I stopped. And then now,
like the cartoony animated Clone Wars. Yeah, they're good, man. They're good.
But now I have to start over with my wife because she loves Star Wars. So I'd have to watch those 5 episodes. When you presented with that situation, you have to just do it again.
Right, of course.
And those first 5, they were okay. I could tell it was character development. I was learning who these people were.
Right. What else? What else have you been binge watching lately?
I decided I didn't want to be programmed by shows and only be watching a show with a certain kind of environment or narrative. So we've decided to, ever since day 1 of actual quarantine, we've decided to watch a movie each night. And of course, you can't always do that. Different life things happen, but we've labeled each night. So tonight's Friday, so it's Sci-Fi Friday.
Nice.
Tomorrow's Sentimental Saturday or Sappy Saturday, I forget. So we'll watch something kind of ridiculous for that. And then Sunday's Super Sunday, which is just whatever, kind of a blockbuster. Monday is Manic Monday, so action. We watched Lethal Weapon 1 and 2, which my wife fought against, but we did it and it was rad. Trippy Tuesday, so something sort of more psychedelic or kind of out there, Wacky Wednesday.
Like a Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yeah. We just watched Big Fish. I don't know if you remember that Tim Burton movie.
I remember that.
Yeah. It wasn't as great as I remember it to be, but it was worth watching. And then Wacky Wednesday, some sort of comedy, like you could throw Ace Ventura or something insane in there, Wayne's World, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then Thriller Thursday is a lot of fun. And there you go. That's what we've actually we've held to it, and it's been really fun. Because shows are so incredible now. Yeah. And also, by doing this, I've allowed time to catch up. So once we're done with this exercise, there'll be like several shows that have concluded that I could watch through. So there's nothing worse than, like I was looking forward to the new season of Westworld.
Yeah.
But it would be a bummer to watch that once a week now, right? Because we're so spoiled. So
it's just weird. It's just a weird way to watch. Like The Mandalorian was that style of like it's once a week or whatever. Yeah.
That was frustrating, but man, it would have taken us like one night to watch that had they done it the other way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, which superpower would you want to have?
Just like any I could think of, or based on real guys or girls.
Anything you can think of.
I was just talking to my wife about this, and I mean that changes a lot. But time travel would be at the top of the list. And I say that mostly because I would be able to go back and check out so many different shows I didn't get to see, or you know, see these great moments in history. But most importantly to me, selfishly, completely, is I'd go back in time and I'd surf the best waves that would have before people surfed. And I would have the knowledge of how a surfboard is made. Although I'm not a shaper myself, but I would be able to find some sort of craftsman to help me complete my idea. And I would ride these waves that weren't ridden yet. And it would be just, I mean, that'd be it.
People would be like, look at this lunatic. What is he
maybe
doing?
Yeah, but I wouldn't care, because I'd just be so stoked.
Nice. All right, back to a couple more. Thank you again, Aaron, for the time. I don't want to monopolize too much of it. So
No worries, man. Yeah.
Greg says they've spotted UFOs. Do you believe aliens have visited Earth?
Who spotted UFOs?
The government, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I would say that when a certain narrative becomes mainstream, and it seems to be pushed on you by all different outlets, I often question the intention behind it. And so growing up, aliens were thought of as, you're crazy to think there's aliens, right? And so I thought, well, obviously there's aliens. There must be. It's logic. It's scientifically probable that there are aliens. But now that it's become such a mainstream belief, it makes me wonder. It makes me question my first intuition, because it's become so commonly thought. If that makes any sense. So the answer is I don't know. I've personally never seen one. So that's the only issue with that question and answer. So my answer is that I don't have an answer. There have been many times where I thought there's no doubt that there's aliens in this whole complicated ordeal. But again, because it's so mainstream now, my philosophy is to always question when I'm being fed something, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Thoughts on legalized marijuana?
Well, it's legal, right? I mean, I don't really have many thoughts on it at all, because it's, I suppose it should have been legal all along.
100%.
There are much more dangerous things that are legal, that are widely prescribed irresponsibly, I think. And so, I don't really have many. I don't know if it's an issue for you guys there, but it's just basically legal here, so I don't think much about it. Although
it's completely legal across Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, anytime the government gets involved in something, you got to wonder what the intentions are, just like,
wow,
the previous.
They want money.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
that's what their intentions are.
I'll say that I think that it's amazing that, and it's got to be positive, that people that really need sort of more on the pain relief side can legally explore that now. So that's definitely awesome. But I have friends and family members who have struggled with certain physical things that they've used marijuana to help them be more comfortable, and that's awesome.
Right, that's a good thing. Okay, Aaron, I'll wrap it up with what I think might be the toughest question. Can you nail it down to one career highlight?
Yes, it's sort of impossible.
Right.
So I'm going to be like a politician and basically not answer the question.
They're all been good. Each step of the way is,
Well, it's. I think that just the fact that I'm talking to you today and am still relevant and have a career is overall. I mean, that's kind of a bullshit answer, so I apologize to skate around it, but it's like, I was at a point before I made the first AWOL record where I thought no one was ever going to listen to these songs. And that whole first record became sort of a phenomenon. and still lives on today. So I guess just the fact that going full circle back to when I had that job as a waiter, and I didn't even get paid for the 2 days I worked because they went out of business and I couldn't flag down the owner. But that was so funny and weird. But the fact that I got out of debt, for starters, was probably the coolest thing for me. And then, of course, you know, there's been a lot of success since that moment, but just having the opportunity to get out of debt at all and start over, almost a second chance after all these failed other projects I had done, would probably, I guess, overall be. I mean, there's all these things. We opened up for the Rolling Stones, you know. I used to have these all these platinum plaques for the first record and sale, especially like in the song "Not Your Fault" that were over to my right. And then my wife finally said, "Hey, do you care about these awards and accomplishments you have?" And I said, "You know, I guess I don't. So they're gone." So she put them in storage. So they were collecting dust here for the longest time, and they didn't aesthetically look cool in my house at all. And I didn't ever have it in me to hang up an award on my wall, you know. Right. And so they're gone. So she's pretty cool like that. She's good at not allowing any of the stuff to become a really big deal and keep life, you know, what's most important in life in front of me. This doesn't answer your question at all, but
no, I think it does though. I mean, ultimately what you're saying is like, you're still here. People still give a shit about Aaron and Awolnation, and that in itself is a feat, dude. I mean,
that is, and I would say like just that they cared ever at all, you know, for any fans we lost along the way, I'm appreciative that anyone ever cared, you know. Right. So you know, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I will say though that like there are many artists I really looked up to and still look up to that have reached out to me and said very kind, encouraging, and supportive things about the songs I've written and throughout my career. And those are probably the coolest moments as far as being accepted by my peers. You know, because it's one thing for critics or blogs to say this or that, you know, and you never know what angle they're coming from or what kind of music they're into or whatever. But it's another thing to hear positivity from, well, so I just did this Beck cover. I did a cover for Deezer, and I did a song called Guess I'm Doing Fine. And then I saw that he reposted it. So I reached out and said, "Hey, is this really you?" And he said, "Yeah, it's really me." And he said that he loved the version of that song. And I never thought I'd be talking to Beck, someone I look up to. Or, you know, I became buddies with Rivers Cuomo, and he likes my music. I can say that. And he sang on my record. You know, so those things are actually more important to me than hearing any good review from some supposed music critic, you know?
Right.
And I've been lucky to meet a lot of my heroes for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, thank you again for taking some time here to join us, the Toddcast in Vancouver, Canada. You're easy to find online, simply your band name, Awolnation, on both Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, and I've been trying, you know, for anyone who's interested, I've been trying to keep these conversations pretty interesting weekly. This last week, I didn't really have any guests, and Zach from Portugal, the man, was we were going to talk yesterday, but something came up, so we're going to reschedule hopefully for next week. So yeah, check out the different guests, because even if you don't like my music, these other people have been really interesting, and I do a decent job of getting information out of them that they usually wouldn't share with most people. I feel like that I can say. So yeah, join me.
Very cool, man. All right, we'll see you online. Thanks again.
Yeah.